Hello, this is Rodney Robinson, and today's pendulum dowsing video is on the subject of energy clearing. It's a subject that comes up quite a lot in my Facebook group called Pendulum Dowsing and Energy Balancing, and it appears a lot of people want to use their pendulum dowsing for this purpose. Now, it's a big subject, so I'm not going to be able to get everything in today's video, which I like to keep them short anyway. So I'm going to make a start on the type of pendulum that you would use for this work. So you have a choice of a large variety of designs of pendulum, and I would advise you to browse the websites of specialist pendulum suppliers, because these pendulums will be high vibrational pendulums, which are the pendulums that you want to use. So please get a good quality pendulum. Don't use crystal pendulums for this work. Crystal pendulums store energy, and you have the potential of releasing unwanted energies on whatever it is you're working on. I like to use wood or brass, but there are a variety of other materials as well. When I say crystal, I don't mean particularly the mineral ones, which are okay, but crystals are the ones that you can see through. So we're talking about clear quartz, amethyst, citrine. These are the ones to avoid. So I'd like to introduce you to my small selection of pendulums, which I favour myself for using in energy clearing work. My number one pendulum that I like is the Jed pillar pendulum. And as you can see, it's quite a simple design. This one's made of Spanish oak, but it doesn't matter really what wood it's made out of. It could be brass or bone, but it's a lovely simple design, elegant, and this was taken from ancient Egyptian artifacts. No one quite knows the absolute meaning of it, but it's become associated in its symbolism with protection and prosperity. Circular discs such as this down the shaft of the pendulum, and these deeper discs at the top, these tend to radiate the energy of the object, so you're having a more environmental effect. And as you can see as well, it spreads out into a flattish base, and this also helps to spread energy around to the widest possible area when you're doing work on a room or a property or a location. So that's a great pendulum to use, I feel. Another one of my favourites is, again, another high vibrational pendulum, which this one is one of my favourites because it emits three different colours, which are very balancing, healing. It emits ultraviolet, gold, and negative green. And again, it's got the disc pattern here, as well as hemispheres. These are all great shapes to use in a pendulum. And of course, we've got a little bit of numerology here as well, because we've got 3, we've got 6 here, and 3, 6, and 9. So that's a very good number sequence, which on a sort of metaphysical basis has the symbolism of non-physical action. So some great properties in that design, which I like to use. The next pendulum that I like to use is this one. This is a Karnak pendulum, and I'm sure many of you will recognize the design of that pendulum. Again, this has come from ancient Egyptian artifacts. It's been taken from tombs, and we use this shape a lot now for pendulums. I've had this one made, as I do a lot of my pendulums, out of local Andalusian olive wood. And as you can see from the body of the pendulum, it has some really beautiful, deep, rich and complex grain markings here, and lighter markings here. The thing about olive wood is that you get these markings from the heart of the tree. If you go to the perimeter, the part of the wood around the trunk, the outside of the trunk, it's quite plain wood, quite a plain sort of beige colour. But as you go to the heart of the tree, you get these really beautiful, absolutely stunning grain patterns of different colours, very dark, and this one is more of a sort of caramel kind of coloured grain. And one of the things that I do with my pendulums, apart from measure on a dowsing chart their percentage degree of high vibrational energy and their energetic colours, I also like to psychometrize them, which basically means meditating with them while you hold the pendulum, and then that energy is interpreted in your mind as imagery. When I do that with this pendulum, I get images of deep within the earth. So I'm seeing sort of caverns, caves, underground sort of features, stalactites, stalagmites, that kind of thing. So for me, this resonates quite well, excuse me, as a pendulum to use for geopathic stress clearing. So that's what I go to for that kind of work. The final pendulum that I'd like to introduce you to is this brass one from Barge Pendulums, which is called the Benedictus pendulum. And it's composed of this elongated cone, a shape which emits high levels of negative green. It's a chamber filled with frankincense resin, which helps to raise its vibration further. There's an equal-armed cross on this part of the disc, and on the underside of the disc we have the letters of the first letters of the words of St. Benedict's prayer. So there's a lot of features gone into the design of that pendulum to raise its vibrational frequency to a very high level. And I use this one for clearing dark entities, demonic entities, and that's a great one to use. So there's my pendulums, and now we can talk a little bit about the kind of energies that you'll be clearing with these techniques. Well, I mentioned geopathic stress, and geopathic stress is caused by different things. It's a disturbance of the natural earth energy, the flow of earth energy, or the frequencies produced by the resonance of the earth's magnetic field. And one of the things that can cause it, perhaps the most commonly discovered cause, is underground water veins. And anything above these veins can be an area of disturbance. So if a house is above such a water course, then you might find emotional problems, mood changes, physical illnesses, even cancers have been associated with living above geopathically stressed zones. So it's quite a serious thing, and a very beneficial thing to clear them. Now, water is not the only thing. Before we leave water, the other thing that I should mention is that if you have water that is also contaminated by toxins, then you have what's known as a black stream. So that area where above ground, where the stream runs, will be especially toxic and harmful to be in. Other things are anything to do with man's disturbance of the earth, so buildings, roads, mines, railway tracks, metal pylons, the high voltage cables that run along the pylons. All these things can carry disturbing influence on the earth energies. sub-power stations that you found in some streets. These can be a problem too. And of course they do emit their own electromagnetic fields, and for that reason electromagnetic field energy is sometimes grouped within the heading of geopathic stress. It's not really, but very often you find the two things go hand in hand. Of course, electromagnetic fields can be very disturbing to people who are sensitive to them, such as electrosensitives, and these people find it very difficult to live with electrical technology that emit high levels of EM fields, such as any transmitter, any radio frequency transmitter, which we're seeing increasingly amounts of these days, because a lot of devices that we have in our home are wireless and use Wi-Fi. So these are all electromagnetic radio frequency transmitters. Other things that we may want to clear our locations from are negative emotional energy. So when anyone has suffered trauma, stress, illness, those negative emotions, that suffering, that energy, can then imprint itself in a room, for example, in a location, in a property, and that can hang around and cause problems for people who subsequently spend a lot of time there. Hauntings again, spirit presence, demonic entities, these can all be cleared within the scope of pendulum clearing or dowsing pendulum clearing. So there's a lot we can do with our dowsing pendulum to clear some of these noxious energies from our location. And what I'm going to show you in the next video are examples of pendulum decrees that we can use as part of the technique. Now, a decree is simply a spoken affirmation or a statement of intent clearly made while you spin your pendulum or gyrate it. So it can go in a circular manner, either clockwise. A lot of people utilize an anti-clockwise spin for removing energies that we want to take away, and a clockwise spin to infuse that area with positive energy. You can, if you like, just continually use a clockwise spin. You don't have to use the negative spin. So I'm going to use the clockwise spin because it's what I tend to do more often than not. So you spin your pendulum and you state your decree, which can be something as simple as clear this room of all negative, low, dense, non-beneficial energies. Only if in my highest good and the highest good of all concerned. And if there's not much to remove, then the pendulum won't spin for very long before it indicates that it's finished its job by either stopping or moving to a to and fro motion. Once you've done that, you can move on to another decree. Notice I always finish my decrees with only if in my highest good and the highest good of all concerned. Okay, well, I hope that has been useful, and I'd like to see you in my follow-up video where we continue the method of using pendulum decrees to clear negative energy. Don't forget to subscribe and to like my video if you found it helpful. Thank you.